The president is wrapping up his first full day in Britain as part of his state visit to the United Kingdom. He's already had lunch with the Queen, walked through Buckingham Palace, toured Westminster Abbey, and had tea with Prince Charles. But his trip is not without controversy. Ian Lee explains.
A grand display of British royal fanfare welcomed the President and First Lady to Buckingham Palace. Queen Elizabeth is hosting the three-day lavish affair. Her Majesty stood on the sidelines with the First Lady while President Trump inspected the Guard of Honor. His daughter Ivanka and other family members watched from above. Troops fired traditional gun salutes at London landmarks to mark President Trump's state visit. The pomp and pageantry is on full display around Buckingham Palace. This is just the third time an American president has been granted the honor of a state visit by the Queen. Only Barack Obama in 2011 and George W. Bush in 2003 have received the coveted invitations.
I mean, the state visit is the highest honor that a nation can pay another head of state.
Before touching down in London, President Trump fired off a trademark Twitter insult, calling London Mayor Sadiq Khan a stone-cold loser for criticizing the ceremonial visit. Khan's aide said such childish insults should be beneath the President of the United States. The two are not scheduled to meet. After a private lunch with the Queen and tea with future King Prince Charles, the President and First Lady toured a special exhibition of gifts that British monarchs and U.S. presidents have exchanged over the years. Tonight, President Trump gives a speech at an extravagant state banquet.
And Ian Lee joins us now from London. Hi, Ian. Great to see you. You know, we saw the president get a friendly reception from the Queen there, but the mayor of London, as you mentioned, was not quite as receptive. What is at the heart of this feud that goes back quite a bit, and is it complicating the special relationship between the two nations?
Yeah, this feud goes back years, Tanya. And recently, this bout between the president and the mayor started when Sadiq Khan wrote in the Guardian newspaper, a newspaper here in the UK, saying that the president was an example of the growing global threat to freedoms and liberties. Well, the president, as we know, doesn't take those kind of insults standing down, and that's where he fired off that tweet calling him a stone-cold loser. We also heard from the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn. He said that tomorrow's protests that are scheduled for those people against the Trump visit, he's saying that it is an example for protesters to come out and have an opportunity to stand in solidarity for the people that the president has been against in the United States, in Britain, and really around the world, as well as Sadiq Khan. This is a very divisive trip, despite being a state visit. You know, if I look to my left, I got Trump supporters. I look to my right, I got those people protesting this visit, and here I am in the middle with you, Tanya.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Ian, we're glad you are. So there was also a little bit of drama over some old remarks by the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. What was going on there?
Yeah, we got to rewind back to 2016 when Meghan was a supporter of then candidate Hillary Clinton during that presidential run. She called then candidate Trump divisive and a misogynist. And these are the words that were brought up to the president during a recent interview with the Sun newspaper here in the UK. Now, President Trump said that the Duchess of Sussex was a nasty person. He later retracted that, saying he didn't say that, although they released the tape. But he isn't going to be meeting her. Meghan is on maternity leave, but he will be meeting her husband, Prince Harry.
All right. Well, the president is also set to meet with outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May tomorrow. We know Mr. Trump has faced criticism for his dismissal of climate change. But will the prime minister press him on this?
Yeah, this is a big issue, and I expect that even if the next prime minister would probably push the president on climate change, they seem to be united on this front. You know, recently, 250 academics sent out a message saying that the president needed to address climate change more robustly and challenge that the prime minister needed to challenge him on this. And we've seen protests here in the UK and are really around the world against climate change. And the president, he pulled the United States out of the Paris Accords. That's something we're also expecting the prime minister to push him on.
All right. So the president did weigh in on the UK's failed efforts to leave the European Union. And if there was any question, he would be a Brexiteer, it seems, because he said, quote, "If you don't get a fair deal, then you walk away." How has his input on this matter been received locally?
That's a good question. It really is on who you ask. Those people who support Brexit, who support those politicians pushing for Brexit, they like what the president is saying. But you have a lot of people on the other side who want the UK to stay in the EU. And so they are obviously not with the president on this issue. But you're right. If you do look at what the president has been saying, it does seem like he is a Brexiteer. He supports Boris Johnson to be the next prime minister. Boris Johnson came out in support of Brexit. He also supported Nigel Farage. He said he would be a good person to bring into that government. And this is another vocal Brexiteer. So that is something that usually presidents don't weigh in on. They usually let local politics stay local, but the president has been weighing on this.
Well, Brexit did seem to catch some energy from that populist wave that swept across our country here and certainly parts of Europe as well. So it's kind of all related in some ways. But Ian, before we let you go, lay out for our viewers what the rest of the president's trip abroad looks like.
Yeah, so when you saw in the report, there was a lot of pomp and circumstance with the president's visit. It's not just fancy dinners. Tomorrow, he's going to be meeting with the prime minister. They are going to be talking about not only Brexit, but they got defense, they got trade. China is a big issue that they're likely to bring up. And also after that, they're going to be going down to Portsmouth. They're going to be commemorating that D-Day invasion. That is where Allied troops disembarked from to France. And then on June 6th, that is the big day. He is going to be in France for the D-Day ceremonies that day, marking the 75th anniversary of when U.S. troops invaded those shores.
All right. Well, Ian Lee in London, thank you so much.